All right. How is everyone doing? Welcome to episode 1.5 of Paging Dr. Guillotine, a current events podcast hosted by me, Marco. I'm Marco. I'm a dude, and I have some thoughts. And I'm trying to see if you, the listener, agree with my thoughts or if you disagree. And why? I'm just throwing some ideas out into the ether and seeing how the rest of society reacts. Yeah, that's basically it. That's my shit. That's what I do. This is episode 1.5 because before the election here in the United States of America, before the election, I did a rant about why, if Kamala Harris loses, why it could be, and who shouldn't be blamed, and almost. I mean, it was an observation. It was observable. Anybody could observe it the way that I saw it. You could just see that people were going to get blamed that didn't deserve the blame, and we're here to just add credence to those people and really point to blame where it belongs. So, as you can tell, this is like political current events. I hate politics. I hate politicians. And the name of this podcast represents a little joke, a little hee-hee, in reference to when wealth inequality was really bad. It led to Bastille Day, where they chopped off the heads of all the ruling class. And so, this is like a warning, like, hey, shit can't go the way it's going because then pretty soon people will be paging Dr. Guillotine. So it's current events and a warning, kind of like, hey, pay attention to this shit because if you don't, it's going to bite you in the ass. And that was what the rant, if you will, was about. Today, I'm going to quickly and briefly discuss why I think Kamala Harris lost, her and her campaign. I don't put this just on her shoulders. There's a plethora of fuck-ups that deserve shout-outs. And also a plethora of fucked up strategies that deserve shout-outs as well. So let's get into it. All right, so it's been about 3 weeks since top-tier candidate Kamala Harris lost the 2024 presidential election to Donald Trump. Right off the bat, let me tell you this, and we'll discuss it further as we go along. You'll see what I mean. But Donald Trump is the easiest candidate to beat. He is. He just is. He's an anomaly within his party and an anomaly in how he's been treated by the Democrats. They don't know how to beat him, and they do know how to beat him. They just refuse to use that strategy. But whatever. I digress. So let's break down. Let's autopsy this dog shit campaign. All right. So the first thing, in many firsts, in a list of many firsts, the first thing, no primary. That's a problem. You cannot not test your candidate. All right. So whose fault is this? It kind of falls on Joe Biden and his bum ass team. His people, they wanted to stay in power. They wanted to, keep riding the gravy train. And guess what? You cost the country and you cost your party an election, and you basically doomed this country to having this dimwit as a president again. You're running entirely on a preserving democracy, campaign, and you don't have free and clear primaries. That's a problem. All right, and if this is a problem that the Democrats wanted to fix, they could have open, free, clear primaries. No delegates, no super delegates. No one gets like a special vote. The elections have to be ranked choice, and direct democracy. People vote. They go, all right, I like, these out of 5 candidates, I like these 3, and in this order, boom, that's your vote. The other thing is they ignored the grassroots organizers, and it shows. And that is unacceptable because a bunch of the people that were consulting this campaign come from the Obama campaign. David Plouffe, whatever the fuck his name is, he comes from the land of the 2008 Obama campaign. Letting the Republicans lead the narrative. There was a devastating ad in Pennsylvania that really, really swayed people, and the gist of it was like Kamala Harris is for they them, Donald Trump is for you. How do you let the Republicans run away with the narrative? You run a campaign and you go, hey, we believe in human rights, civil rights for everybody. Right? Because when you start divvying it up, you make it easier to conquer. All right? Civil rights, human rights for everybody. And that's how you run your ads. And that's how you run your ads against that shit. No. This is everybody. You, me, they, them, us. Running as a law and order candidate. Why? Why are you campaigning to this mythical moderate Republican Liz Cheney ass voter? The Republican that votes Democrat is a demographic that doesn't exist. It didn't exist in 2004 when John Kerry tried to get their vote, in the midst of the Bush years. And it didn't work in 2016 when Hillary, tried to win over the mythical Liz Cheney vote. And it didn't work this time. It didn't work 3 weeks ago. So this is something that can be summarily ignored. It's a failing strategy. Oh, I'm tough on border. I'm tough on drugs. All right, well, again, follow that through. What is the solution to those problems? A, you get less people at the border if you don't destabilize the economies of Latin American countries. But that counters the interests of the military-industrial complex. Oh, well, you got to choose. And then again, the drug narrative, decriminalize. There's your solution. Decriminalize and regulate. Safe consumption sites, testing sites, all that shit at a mass scale. Because we have a mass consumer base for illegal narcotics. The shit comes here because people buy it here. Misstep. One of the biggest missteps. A, not doing interviews. When the campaign took off, 107 days before the election, no interviews. And Kamala Harris had to she needed to distance herself away from the failure that is Bidenomics. So the economic message is not lining up with the economic realities. You have to address inflation. And going on The View or whatever and saying that you wouldn't change a single thing, not good. And you have to do more interviews. And you have to go on Joe Rogan. You have to. He has the largest media audience in history. He's the largest broadcaster, and the Rogan push to the right is really a doing of legacy media because he is a true threat. That model is a threat to the legacy media model. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react. So again, an opportunity missed. And it goes back actually to when Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders. And the legacy media sphere berated the Sanders campaign for it. They were right. Issues. War. We are funding an unwinnable war for the Ukrainians. The median age of their soldiers is like 56. And they're just essentially just cannon fodder for the other side of that conflict. The Russians and the Chechens and all that shit that's on the other side of that. That's a Western European issue. That's a problem for Germany. That's a problem for England. That's a problem for France. That's a problem for them. And they should fucking pay for it. All right, and that's the winning, discourse there. How do we know it's the winning discourse? Because that's how fucking Trump won on a stronger anti-war message than Kamala. How do you let that happen? How do you get out-lefted by that guy? And not to mention the genocide in Gaza and AIPAC undermining our elections, and doing what they did to Cori Bush and doing what they did to Jamal Bowman. That is election interference, and you're not addressing it. And not only are you not addressing it, but the lobby the interest of that lobby gets blank checks, just arms, money, arms, and our infrastructure is falling apart. Our boats, our bridges are collapsing. Our planes are falling apart mid-flight. Our trains are derailing. Our the ports were a fucking mess, and there was, no transfer of goods. There was a struggle to transfer goods. So all these things, you can't just you can't just be, the party of giving away money to private interests. Parading around with Liz Cheney, what kind of message are you sending? You're catering again to this mythical, non-existent, moderate conservative. And again, it failed. This is the third time this strategy fails. Like, that's the sign of it. That's the definition of insanity. Doing something the same over and over again and expecting different results. You hear a lot of the people, the consultants and strategists and all that involved, complaining that they had 107 days. That's Biden's fault. His team. It's their fault for being selfish and trying to cling on to power and committing elder abuse. Like, putting that dude out there in that debate, that's elder abuse. That guy doesn't know where the fuck he is. He has no clue. He's lost. Again, back to like point 4 or 5, the interviews. You got to get your message out. And how is your message different than the guy who's crashing and burning, whose own internal polling tells him, the Biden administration, the campaign, they knew that if they ran, there's a good chance Trump could have won 400 electoral votes. 400. The really, fuck? Also, 107 days, that has its benefits. You have to look. These strategists get paid millions of dollars to not conceptualize how that's a benefit to you. But that's you gotta look. You gotta judo flip the situation and find your how that benefits you, and it benefits you that it was done after the Republican National Convention. So all their anti-Biden shit that they recorded with the big audiences out the window. The consultants, man, are parasites, overpaid parasites, barnacles on the party that habitually fail, and they get hired again. These people fail and they fail up. This is like inconceivable. If these people work, I mentioned him before. He's a reoccurring name in this media sphere. David Plouffe, whatever the fuck his name is. He's just a habitual loser. Made his name in the Obama era in 2008 when they used innovative approaches in social media to get the word out about an unknown senator from Chicago, from Illinois. So that's how the Plouffe gets in, as a strategist. But on the side, on the sneak tip, he works for Uber as a exec, and as general bunch of sketchy business interests. But we're gonna stick with that Uber connection for a second, because that ties into the other strategist, consultant, Tony West, who's actually Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, and he's an executive at Uber. And so the best Kamala Harris was doing was when she was talking about inflation and the corporate class, vis-a-vis Uber, and the two execs that are in Kamala's campaign told her to shut the fuck up about inflation. Hey, this inflation is our doing. Don't upturn the apple cart. We own the apples in the cart. And they told her to shut the fuck up about inflation, and she shut the fuck up. She did. Now there's one other consultant to discuss whose effect was disastrous for the Kamala campaign. And that's a lady named Jen O'Malley Dillon. If you don't know who she is, good. You have no reason to know who she is. You shouldn't know who she is. But she's responsible for Trump right now. She was actually part of Biden's campaign. But, they had 107 days. They couldn't apparently restaff with Kamala loyalists. So a lot of Biden loyalists ended up working this campaign. And so this lady, Jen O'Malley Dillon, she's the owner of Precision Strategies, a consulting group for the political class, and she has an ad buying company that the politicians, she advises them to buy ads, and she does the ad buying and gets a little, or a lot probably, of money on the side. And then so ad buying for television, print, that's not in line with podcasting. Podcasting is this outside medium, still in a lot of regards. In a lot of respects. So it's a conflict of interest. She doesn't know how to approach that world, I guess. And so she encouraged or discouraged the podcast, approaching the podcast-osphere of politics. A great breakdown of this, even though I disagree with him several times on the internet, on Al Gore's internet and Elon Musk's Twitter. Toure, the writer, he has a substack called Culture Fries, and he actually breaks down this Jen O'Malley Dillon fuckery very well, better than I'm explaining it right now. But just a recap of who not to blame. At the bottom of the list, leftists, progressives, the anti-war movement, the anti-genocide movement, wokeness, none of the fuck out of here with that. Harris didn't even address anything woke in her entire campaign. They asked her one time about, trans people and what they can expect, and she said she would follow the law. The law is getting weaponized against these folks. So what message are you sending to, supposedly the demographic that you are watching out for, that you're supposed to defend? And the big one is sexism and racism. That's sure, maybe it could absolutely have played a role. Yeah, no doubt. But it's too dismissive of a reason. Just go, 77 million people are racist and sexist. Are they? Or can we factor in these other issues too? The state of the economy, the economic reality against your economic messaging. That maybe that's an issue. Waving it off on sexism and racism is just an establishment excuse to avoid accountability. The accountability that these people, Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, the consultants, the Jen O'Malley Dillons, the Tony Wests, the David Plouffes, Obamas, all these people should be purged from the party. Their voices should be silenced because they don't know what they're fucking talking about. They habitually lose elections that should not be lost. They habitually drop the ball on messaging. They should know better. And they keep dropping the ball on message. And this is why Rahm Emanuel can't be the head of the DNC, because before, in the time of Obama, Howard Dean proposed a 50-state plan for running elections. We run hard in all 50 states, not just catering to the coastal elites. And Rahm Emanuel shot that down, and they were able to win elections like that, but barely, and they lost a lot more elections than they've won using that strategy. Really, all this bitching and moaning that I'm doing breaks down to this: how does the party win? Well, a philosopher once said, you don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. All right? You don't fight bigotry and racism with centrism and focusing on identity politics. You fight fascism with class solidarity. The the hillbilly in West Virginia, the trans person in Brooklyn, the farmer in upstate New York, the, the rail worker out of Maine, all these people are part of the working class. They work to pay their overpriced bills. Yeah. And that's where you find common ground. You start there. And they don't want to do that. That's the winning discourse, is discussing systems of oppression and material realities. Material realities, not this fictional, like, well, what if this, what if, no. Material realities. What is, pertinent, to the class. Not this divide and conquer from the inside that the party has engaged in. So that's the end of my notes. And I hope you've enjoyed the discourse. If you agree or disagree, the socials will be down here somewhere. Down there somewhere will be socials. And you can message me. You can curse at me. I don't give a shit. You could do whatever. It doesn't really matter. But most of all, I just hope you enjoyed, the chat, and let us hope and have hope that all is not lost, and that, that we'll pull through. All right. That's the end of my spiel. Hope you enjoyed. Follow, do all that stuff. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace.